Miles' performance for you tonight, and what was his demeanor like going into this game? Looked like he was extra fired up in the game.
I just thought he brought a different type of physicality and mindset to the game, especially the way he started off. And, he did some great things as far as offensive rebounding. I thought his screening versus the switch was really good. And then I thought when we went to him at the 5, his ability to space and just make the right play. And so I thought, he helped us get going with, by having a good start with his mindset. And we needed that. And, he was big.
What were some of the moments you said about Malcolm's performance in the second half?
I don't know exactly, but I know he played well. Again, just give us the ability to space, the ability to have that speed, the ability to have that driving kick, and just have multiple guys that could play off the dribble really helped us, in the second half.
Joe, how would you characterize this win? You had a lot of clutch performances down the stretch, but you also had a lot of sloppy turnovers down the stretch.
Yes.
How would you like? Is this a good win? Is this something that?
Is it a bad win?
I mean, there are wins.
We did say before that if we didn't win, it was the end of the world. So I know. So now that we won, I feel like we.
Right, but
no, I'm just kidding.
Right, I know.
No, I mean, I think I think for us, we talked about poise and physicality, and we talked about playing to. Everybody asked, what did we learn? What did we learn? And I think what we've learned is it takes a mindset in order to be successful, and it takes a mindset to be a really, really good team in the NBA. And you can't be inconsistent with that. And I think even though you play really, really well and we win, we're still going to have some of those moments. Yeah, we had some turnovers. We had some kind of, plays where it's just kind of like, that shouldn't happen. But that's going to happen. They did too. They ran a great ATO and threw the ball out of bounds, and Klay Thompson didn't catch it. So I don't think it's about that. It's about, just the habits that we're growing as far as our mindset, our poise, our physicality, our ability to execute, our ability to handle the chaos of a game, the chaos of an NBA. And we showed tremendous growth in our offensive execution and our spacing late game and got really, really good looks throughout the game.
Is that something that you're kind of like hanging your hat on? There was that chaotic finish. There were still a lot of turnovers there late in the game, but you didn't give in to those, and you still managed to come back and tie it.
Yeah, I mean, I think to try and say that they're going to be eliminated, I think is hard because they're humans and they're playing their butts off and they're just going to make mistakes. It's just how the game goes. But I'm more of a guy that's like, can we operate in the chaos? Can you make a mistake and then how quickly can you bounce back for it? Because it's going to happen. And so I think if we can just coach the end game in that and coach the response to chaos, I think that can help us. And so, that was a fun game. That was a really, really fun game. I'm really happy for our guys.
It felt, Joe, like both teams kind of treated this like more than a normal game. I think Jason played 48, 49 minutes, didn't come out after, I think, the first quarter. Steve played his, pretty short rotation, played a bunch of guys a bunch of minutes. Did it feel like more than a typical regular season game as you were going through it?
Just felt like a high-level basketball game with two really, really good teams, throwing haymakers at each other. And I think once you get into that situation, you're like, all right, well, we might as well do it. And so that's where I thought our guys did a great job just kind of responding,
And was there anything in particular in terms of keeping Jason in for that long a stretch, or was it just sort of, it's a competitive game, the game's going that way? And
I just felt like that's what the game needed at the time. I felt like we were in a good spot. I felt like he was in a good spot. I felt like regardless of whether he was in or out of the game, he was competing at a high level on both ends. And, I just thought that's what the game needed at that time.
In the finals last game, crunch time offense was a real challenge. And tonight, you guys seem like broke out a lot of new wrinkles you haven't shown a lot of before. How creative does Golden State force you to be in those moments? And what worked for you guys allowed you to win?
They force teams to be creative, but I credit our guys to their, creativity and their ability to execute. I think with their active hands and the way they fly around and their rotations defensively, they test you. They test you to make the right play. They test you to be spaced. They test you to be disciplined. And I thought our guys did a great job, answering that test as far as our spacing, our physicality. Even when we, were missing layups, I thought we were driving with a purpose. I thought we were kicking it out when it was necessary. And I thought, our guys did a good job executing.
you went to a lot of like horns and post up stuff because it seemed like when you were trying to space out or drive and kick, they just always had a body in front of you. How did, I guess, getting your best players with the ball kind of closer and collapsing the defense before the attack help you guys get where you wanted?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily love that we were catching it closer. When we went to the 4-round-1, we were catching it outside the 3, which forced their shifts. And then, when Al was at the 5, Draymond had to decide, if the low man was kind of erased from that situation. So at our best possessions tonight, we were 4-around-1, and it was wider for us to which we could make those shifts longer and kind of create those gaps. And I thought we did a good job of that in crunch time.
Joe, were there any conversations with Jason about coming out? Did he ever come to you and say, I need a breather? Or was it kind of like you looked at him and he knew he was not going to come out?
I looked at him, he looked at me, and we just kind of said, yeah. And so that was it.
Did you sense how big of a game? Everyone kind of focused on the matchup with Wiggins, and Wiggins didn't play the last game, and Wiggins did well against him in the finals. Did you sense that this was an important game for Jason to kind of just, and how he kind of broke out toward the end? Did you sense it was important to him?
I sense every game's important for him, the way he's approached, his craft, his season. And so to say that, that kind of diminishes his mindset and, his work ethic. And I think all of our guys are just understanding that we're going to get everyone's best game, and we have to play our best game more times than not. And so does this mean we're a perfect team? No. Does this mean that we're going to, go undefeated the rest of the season? No. Does this mean that we're not going to have difficult times? No. What it means is our guys have shown that we have the capability, the mindset, the poise, the physicality to compete at a high level, and that we're growing in those habits as well.
Joe, that was the first game this year you guys won shooting under 40% from the field. Does winning a game like on it more so on the defensive end, given how well you guys are playing offensively this year, does that mean a little more just from your vantage point, or good to see that progression?
It doesn't mean more because we're top 5 in both. And so we're a well-balanced team, but usually when people focus on a great offensive team, they can't make the correlation that you can be a great offense and a great defense. And so I'm not surprised when we have great defensive games also. We're expected 1 and 2 in both, and then we're like 2nd and 6th in actual. And so we're a great balanced basketball team. And we show that more times than not. And so to say that we're not great defensively, we're good at both. And so what it does show is during the stretch of when we were losing games because of our shooting, we weren't finding other ways to win. We were still playing at a high level defensively, in my opinion, forcing the right shots. We weren't creating the turnovers. We weren't getting the offensive rebounds. We weren't executing in certain situations. We weren't getting those 1 or 2 stops that we needed to. And so that stretch of where we weren't playing our best basketball allowed us to learn how to win games when we don't shoot the ball well. Thank you.